the horrors of Tuol Sleng. Thousands of orphans, and no food to feed them. And the work camps. After 4 years of slave labor, starved and frightened, many Cambodians flee for the borders when the Vietnamese arrive. Enormous refugee camps spring up across the border in Thailand. Others make their way back to the deserted cities, to houses long abandoned, and to the enormous challenge of rebuilding.
Just imagine when your country has been totally transformed. All the institutions, all the processes that you had before 1975 were gone. There's no money, there's no schools, there's no banks, there's no hospitals, there's no anything. And then 4 years later, everybody is released from these camps and they wander out. They have no home, many of them no relatives, no place to go. How do you start and rebuild a society again?
Cambodia is in shock. Citizens are still terrified, and Pol Pot is still alive. When Vietnam invaded, Pol Pot and thousands of Khmer Rouge soldiers retreated to the jungles of northern Cambodia. They remained a political and military force. Not one Khmer Rouge leader was physically brought to justice. It will be almost 2 decades before cracks appear in Pol Pot's underground organization. But in July 1997, word comes from the jungle. Pol Pot himself is going on trial. The prosecutors? His own Khmer Rouge. New leaders are taking over. At first, no one believed them. Pol Pot had deceived before. Confirmation would be essential. Only one outsider was allowed to witness the tribunal, American journalist Nate Thayer of the Far Eastern Economic Review.
We emerged into a clearing where there were hundreds of people, and there, sitting in a simple folding chair, was Pol Pot and 3 of his top lieutenants in handcuffs. When we arrived, the audience broke into spontaneous, as it were, denunciations. Intellectuals, women, farmers, soldiers who would come up to a crude microphone attached to a car battery in the jungle and denounce him and his policies. He was a defeated old man who was extremely sick, and it was sad. As a human being, I felt sorry for him.
Pol Pot's followers sentenced him to life in prison. He was led away without a word. In December 1978, 3 Western journalists, Malcolm Caldwell, Richard Dudman, and Elizabeth Becker, interviewed Pol Pot. Later that night, Becker and Dudman were threatened by armed Cambodians, while Caldwell was murdered. Later, Thayer became one of the first outsiders to see Pol Pot and come out alive. A few months later, Thayer gets another scoop. Pol Pot's ready to talk. Khmer Rouge guerrillas bundle Thayer into a pickup truck and smuggle him across the border, through the jungle and down the mountain, where he was led to a thatch hut.
He was, in fact, a man of great charisma, a very kind of kindly, gentle, grandfatherly, soft-spoken figure who elicited great sympathy when you sat and talked with him. And Pol Pot went to his death believing that he did more good for his country than bad. He was not remorseful. He did not think that, in the big picture, that what he did was wrong. And for me, that was profoundly offensive. When asked about all the women and children, he said, "Oh, those were mistakes in implementation. I don't want to talk about it anymore." He said, "Look at me. Am I a savage? I came to help my country, not to hurt the people.
But more people were hurt than at any single time since World War II. How could it have gone so wrong?
As you take law in your own hands, as you decide that control is murder, it will eventually lead to your best friend because everybody's culpable. And in that, it's not uncommon from either the purges in the Soviet Union, the murders in Germany, the Holocaust. And that's what happened. It was played out, oddly enough, in Cambodia.
In early April 1998, Thayer receives another message from the guerrilla base. Pol Pot is dead.
I was led through literally a minefield, told not to walk off the path, to a simple wooden thatch hut. Pol Pot's wife and his 14-year-old daughter crying out front, and Pol Pot lying prostrate on his bed with all of his worldly possessions, which included one pair of clothes and a little shortwave radio and a scarf and a rattan fan. And he smelled, and he had cotton stuck in various orifices to keep the fluid from coming out, and flies, and one eye was open with a very kind of pained expression on his face. And I remember thinking, you know, it's come down to this. After all that has happened, it came down to this minefield in the middle of nowhere for nothing. Nothing.
Cambodia must now face its future. Can it recover from the other Holocaust? By January 1999, the end is finally clear. Pol Pot is dead. The last Khmer Rouge troops have laid down their rifles and come in from the jungle. But Cambodia is a shell of a nation. In 1979, the killing fields left only 10 people with legal experience in the entire country. Fewer than 50 doctors to help rebuild a nation. And rebuilding has been slow. Only 13% of the households have access to safe drinking water. The average life expectancy is between 47 and 48 years of age. The central market in Phnom Penh looks thriving, but Cambodia is barely able to feed itself, much less participate in Southeast Asia's economy. And there is the issue of landmines. There are more per capita than almost any other country in the world. 8 to 9 million mines in a country of 11 million people. And the evidence of their deadly potential is everywhere. It will take years of treacherous clearing. But landmines have created a growth business: prosthetics.
Now Cambodia, I would argue, is probably in worse shape than it's ever been in modern history. The poverty rate is astonishing. There's no neighbor close to it in the poverty rate. Cambodia used to be one of the more literate countries. The illiteracy rate is sub-basement as well. And it's been hit by the virus worse than its neighbors, and Thailand was pretty bad off. And it's vulnerable. It's totally vulnerable because it has no resources to fight back. And until the Cambodians, I think, deal with the question of the trial and deal with coming to justice with their Khmer Rouge leaders, I don't know that the rest of the governments are going to take it seriously and give them the aid they need.
Thomas Hammerberg has tried to organize a Khmer Rouge tribunal for the United Nations.